Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Happy 4th of July to you all. I hope you guys have some awesome plans planned out for your day, and I really hope the weather can cooperate for all your plans. But of course, the weather doesn't stop just because it is the 4th of July, so that's what we're here to do. We're here to get detail with you folks about what could potentially unfold for your neck of the woods with the weather. I know today's obviously a big day for outdoor activities, whether you're swimming in a body of water, you're shooting fireworks in the evening, grilling out with friends and family. So we're really going to try to get detail with this video and talk about individual focused areas that I think do have a higher chance to see some showers and storms today. And then we'll obviously break down the severe weather threat today across the middle portion of the country, where I think there's more of a heightened area of a severe risk for today. The Deep South could see some strong to severe storms. They will. It's not really a could, but somebody's going to see a powerful storm or two out there. We just got to figure out who has the higher chance to see that. So with that being said, if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Let's get rolling here. I know a lot of people got a lot of things to do, a lot of preparing to do today, so we'll roll through this as quick as possible. Cold front blasting through the northern plains, the northern Rockies. This will dramatically cool your temperatures over the next 24 hours across Montana, Wyoming, even portions of the Dakotas. Temperatures will rise to very high temperatures all the way up into Nebraska today. Upper 90s ahead of a wind shift behind this cold front. It's not a weak cold front either. It's a pretty strong cold front blasting through this region. If you look down here, you see these whiter colors, more grayed out colors. That is where there's more moisture in the atmosphere. And basically, this will be the moist flow and kind of the tone setter to a lot of widespread shower and storm activity all the way up into the Delmarva area today. But ahead of this cold front, we'll have a piece of energy that flies through that really ignites some showers and storms, and really some severe storms across eastern Colorado into Nebraska and Kansas. Eventually could make it all the way into Missouri into the overnight hours tonight. We take a look at what's falling on the surface out there. This area of storms was severe warmed. This is the leftover mesoscale convective system, basically a complex of storms that is making its way from overnight last night into this morning. This is making its way into Minnesota. But remember, if you're waking up to some boomers here and extreme eastern areas of the Dakotas, western Minnesota, don't cancel all outdoor activities just because you're getting rain in the morning. That might not be the case later this afternoon, this evening. You got some scattered, smothered downpours about here in the Deep South that you're waking up to. This will become numerous again later this afternoon, this evening. And then you're waking up to some showers and even some heavier rain here in the southern New England region. We'll watch for this to become even more amplified a little bit later this morning into the early afternoon hours. But by the time we get into the evening and some of the big city regions like Boston, southern New England, New York City, things could be, calmer, more cleared out. So we're going to talk about that too. So Storm Prediction Center for today, what I'm watching here is you got a marginal risk all the way from basically central New Jersey, goes all the way through the Delmarva region, the eastern Carolinas, the Deep South region. I would say the immediate Gulf Coast region maybe might not have a high of a chance for some severe weather today, but you still have that risk for general thunderstorms. But just basically, if you're in this dark green, expect some isolated to scattered strong to severe storms today. From Dallas-Fort Worth almost all the way to Philadelphia, okay? Little Rock, Atlanta, Birmingham, Jackson, Mississippi, Columbia, pretty much Charlotte, Raleigh, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, all the Carolina beaches. Watch for some storms with the fireworks show. It is legal to shoot fireworks in places like South Carolina. So you could have some weather shooting some fireworks out there later this evening, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But the big storyline is this enhanced risk area. If you're in northern and central areas of Kansas and southern sections of Nebraska, you're definitely going to get some nasty storms right around when the sun's setting into the late evening tonight, and these could produce some big time winds. But the tornado threat's very low, but it's not non-existent. Cheyenne down to Denver, you guys do have that 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of any given location. The wind threat, though, is the biggest threat. You got the 15% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then in the red area, you have a 30% risk of winds exceeding that same criteria But you also have the hatch risk. You see the black outline going around this. Well, it's kind of overlaid by the red, but you see the black dashes going through that. That basically means there is a 10% risk of significant winds. That's 65 knots or higher. That's pretty much 75 miles per hour or higher. So big time winds expected today across the middle of the country, and I am worried about this becoming a more of a significant event. But as of now, I do think they'll stay with an enhanced risk and that 30% hatch risk. Hail threat, just a 15% risk of hail exceeding that 1 inch in diameter or larger in this yellow area. So that does include Denver, all the way to Omaha, all the way up to Minneapolis. So there's some higher populated regions and cities that could be impacted by some weather for your 4th of July. And then we have these low risk for severe weather down here. But somebody's going to get hail today. Somebody is going to get a damaging wind gust. I would say the tornado threat is very, very low down here in the Deep South. But you're going to get some severe weather in the Deep South today for sure. Rainfall, you do have a slight risk of basically, which is at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met in areas like Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, all the way down to Long Island and to the New York City area. And this is because a lot of shower and storm activity is going to develop even more than what's going on right now here in the next few hours. And then by the time you get into the evening hours, it will relax. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But right here in the middle of the country to the north central areas of the country, you guys could certainly get some flooding. So please be careful with multiple rounds of storms going through some of these areas, and just maybe one round that dumps a ton of rain, and then just a marginal risk of flash flooding in these regions. Some of these storms can produce a lot of rain very quickly. Trust me, I saw that a couple days ago on Sunday where we had a storm for about 45 minutes and it dropped an inch of rain on us. But the southeast, let's break down you folks first, and we'll zoom in on different areas that I think have a higher chance to see those storms today. But we'll take a more broad look, and we'll start off this morning. Not a whole lot's going on all the way to about 1 or 2 p.m. and then we get some storms. And like I said, you only got a general risk around the immediate Gulf coastline. But I mean, as early as 1, 2 p.m., you guys from Houston over to the coastal region of Louisiana, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, to Mobile, Gulfport, all the way to Tallahassee. If you're vacationing along the Gulf coastline, you definitely are going to get some pop-up showers and storms. But as we make our way more so into the afternoon and the evening time frame, for example, this is around 7 to 8 p.m., you're starting to get really close to when the sun's going down. You're preparing for any kind of fireworks shows or firework activities. You do have a lot of shower and storm activity ongoing, okay? But will it mostly diminish by the time you get your fireworks going? But let's talk about, Alabama, Mississippi, areas of Georgia, Tennessee, Louisiana first. So we'll get going here. And like I said, I mean, it's around lunchtime, 1 p.m., some storms down here in the bayou, southeast Louisiana, storms out in the Gulf, and then bang, this is around 3, 4, 5 p.m., some storms firing off here, maybe some kind of sea breeze going on right off the immediate coastline down here along the Gulf. But you see how isolated and scattered they are, right? I mean, you got one near Meridian, maybe one near Jackson. They're very scattered about. It's going to be very difficult to figure out who gets it and who doesn't. You might not get a drop of rain. It might be one of those days where you're grilling out and you hear a lot of thunder out in the distance, but it stays sunny in your location and you don't even get a drop of rain. This is kind of one of those days. Okay, so just know that if you're in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, I mean, you all have pretty much an equal chance to see a storm, and maybe it could be strong. Some showers and storms showing up here in Tennessee, even southern Kentucky right up here, and you keep going, and maybe more of a consolidated area as a shower and storm activity in Mississippi. So, I would say if there was a state I would watch for the best chance for those showers and storms, I would say it's Mississippi in this frame right here. And, hopefully this doesn't materialize, but this is around 8 or 9 p.m., right around when you're probably beginning the fireworks and things like that. Certainly have still some storms firing off in eastern areas of Mississippi, and then you could be dealing with some rain just before midnight around the Huntsville, Florence, Alabama area. So we'll see how this materializes. We can compare models all day, but in general, the FV3 model pretty much agrees that except that it does like more widespread shower and storm activity right here in the heart of Mississippi and Alabama and the border of northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas today. And I would say this is more widespread. Now, if this was to materialize, you're definitely going to get a flooding threat in this region. So watch out for the FV3 model today. It really wants to hit these areas hard. You even got some storms moving into the Atlanta region. And then it just keeps the storms going. I'm not going to lie. If the FV3 model materializes, you're going to have a soggy 4th of July afternoon, evening across areas from, I would say, southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, central Mississippi, central Alabama, all the way into kind of west central areas of Georgia. But, it might not be how this materializes. We just got to watch. If you're, obviously hoping for a dry 4th of July, which I think most of us are, you're definitely pulling for the HRRR model, which is just more isolated to scattered. The FV3 model is very widespread. Florida, and my folks in South Georgia, just your general thunderstorm risk day in Florida. This is nothing unusual. This is around 4, 5, 6 p.m. Definitely some storms firing in the panhandle of Florida. Some storms down here in the peninsula of Florida. Looks like it's storming here on the southwest coast of the state of Florida here. And, these will continue. If you're chilling with the fireworks show, I'm sure that they're having in Disney World or something. I mean, there could be some storms very close by into the evening hours, and then they'll quickly lose their steam as you get into the late evening hours. The Carolinas and Virginia, for example, the Alps region, we take our way into this early afternoon. Not a whole lot going on, but I think as early as 2 to 4 p.m., you're probably going to have some storm action firing off the mountains of North Carolina, foothills of North Carolina. Could have some big storms really close to the Outer Banks and the eastern coastal regions of North Carolina. Storms showing up here, southeast NC. You keep these going and you stop it here. I mean, it looks very isolated on the HRRR model in the Carolinas. Even some pop-up downpours in Virginia, but not very widespread. So this would be a good scenario. But I can tell you the far eastern areas of North Carolina, maybe even South Carolina, it does look like a stormy afternoon, evening. But maybe this is not exactly how it materializes. It might not be. The FV3 model, let's see, that's not the FV3 model. I've been really favoring this model lately. That's why I've been showing it so much. But it does show more widespread activity. You take your way into 4 p.m. You got some big storms in Charleston around 4 p.m. And at the same time, the HRRR model doesn't show this at all. So, hey, if you're near Folly Beach, all the way to Myrtle Beach, watch out for these storms. This would be a very stormy day along all the eastern, basically all the coastal regions of the Carolinas. Okay, this is around 5, 6, 7 p.m. Definitely more widespread downpour activity. We're getting closer to the nighttime time frame around 7 p.m. You got a lot of storm activity ongoing in Georgia and pop-up downpours and even storms into the sandhills of North Carolina. And I mean, we take it to about 9 p.m. This is when they start blowing off the fireworks. You're dealing with storms based off this model around the Fayetteville area. And I'll be honest, guys, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I would favor this model over the HRRR model. We'll see what happens. I'm actually going to be interested in see which model wins today because it's such a big day with trying to figure out the storms. But I mean, this is around 9, 10, 11 p.m. You got some big storms firing up down here in southeast Georgia, but it's still, quite stormy in eastern North Carolina. So we got to figure out what's going to happen today. It's a tough one, guys. But, these short-range models, that's why I've been spending a little bit more time comparing different ones. I'm not a big fan of the NAM. It's been around a while. But I will show and compare that FV3 model. And there's another model, too. I believe it's like the RFFS model or something that people love to use, but a lot of times it doesn't run frequently and it's kind of out of commission, if you will. But, we make our way into, late morning. Look at all this shower and storm activity firing up in the immediate extreme southern New England area, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. I mean, this is around lunchtime, 1 p.m., and you got some big storms firing up. You even get some storms up here in Vermont. It's very possible, and then a wave that makes its way through kind of western areas of Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. And then as we're getting into, the 8, 9, 10 p.m. time frame, maybe some downpours up here in central Maine. But for the most part, you get to that 8, 9, 10 p.m. time frame where people start, shooting fireworks, doing the 4th of July normal evening activities. It doesn't look that bad. So I want to remind you guys that, hey, well, we're going to focus in on southern New England really quick here. You're dealing with the rain out there a little bit right now, and this is around 11 a.m. Lunchtime. You got some boomers out there, some big storms in Connecticut, Rhode Island, potentially, a lot of rain falling, a very soggy start first half to your 4th of July. But by the time we get into 3 p.m., you're still dealing with storms. You still are, all the way out in the Nantucket, Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard. You probably going to get some storm action. But by the time you get to 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., there's not a lot going on. Okay? Now, I'm not saying there's a 100% chance it really clears out, but hey, don't cancel outdoor activities. Just be patient if you're in southern New England. And by the time you get to the evening hours, it could be pretty chill. But I'm going to tell you guys, between now and that period, you guys could get a ½ inch to an inch to maybe an inch and a half of rain. So, hopefully you get the sun that comes out, dries everything out somewhat. But you're going to be dealing with some rain. And if you look at kind of what's going on right now up there, you're already dealing with some rain, as you can tell. We zoom into this region. So it's kind of already starting this morning for this region. Already got some rain falling in this region, and just expect this to continue over the next several hours for sure. But we make our way into the south central U.S., and this is when we'll cover the severe weather threat. But I will talk about everybody else first. We could get some storm activity in southeast Oklahoma later this morning into the early afternoon, and then very popcorn in nature storms are possible in kind of north Texas, northeast Texas. As you can tell, there's little areas of green and orange and red in here. So, consider yourself lucky if you do get one of these. Up here in Missouri also, you guys certainly around the St. Louis area, around 6, 7, 8 p.m. could get some pop-up downpours. They are certainly possible, but don't expect these to last long in any given location. They will probably clear out pretty quick, but it is possible to get these basically from a corridor of North Texas, eastern areas of Oklahoma, through North Arkansas, all the way up to the St. Louis area. But this is the big complex of storms that we're watching right here. And let's go on and break this down. We'll look at Colorado first. One thing about Weather Bell is I don't like how they have the regional set up for the central U.S. I wish they had a regional area that covered like Colorado, Kansas, and Nebraska, and maybe southeast Wyoming, but they don't, so we have to go through each state, which I don't mind doing. We're going to try to figure this out for you folks. But we'll take it out to late morning, not a whole lot going on. We take it out to about 4 p.m. or so, give or take an hour. Some storms firing off here on the Front Range. Could be quite stormy around the Denver area, Fort Morgan, Sterling regions, and northeast areas of Colorado. Watch out for some storms. Will they reach severe limits in these regions? Not sure. Even some storms all the way up here into Cheyenne. Watch out for a tornado threat in this region right here in southeast Wyoming, and then all the way into this region right here of Colorado. Some of these storms could produce a tornado, so be aware of this. But as you get into 6, 7, 8 p.m., this is when we watch a nasty line of storms that gets going in Nebraska and Kansas. But we kind of have to watch. It looks like a sloppy storm mode, but I would say if you're in northern and northeast areas of Colorado, certainly expect a stormy afternoon, evening. Do you get some kind of break around the time that maybe some of you folks are shooting fireworks out here? It is quite possible. This is around 9 p.m. and you got some breaks, but you do got more storms firing off north of Denver and around the Denver area, and it looks like still a rainy evening for the most part. The place that I'm concerned about is, I would say, Kansas and southern Nebraska. You keep going through here. We're all the way in the early afternoon. We're about 5 p.m. and then bang, 6 p.m. Big storms start to fire up here. And this is in southern, southwest Nebraska. I would say south and North Platte, some big storms begin to fire here. In McCook, watch out in that area around late afternoon, early evening, and then these quickly grow up scale, and we'll stop it here. This is around 8 p.m. McCook, Colby, Oakley, Kansas, Goodland, Kansas. These will start to get into the Norton area, all the way up into the potentially could reach all the way up to North Platte areas of Nebraska, Lexington, Nebraska, Kearney, Nebraska. You guys around, I would say the early evening time frame. I would say you're not going to get any fireworks ongoing out here in Nebraska and northern Kansas, southern Nebraska, northern Kansas tonight. the atmosphere will be given its own fireworks in this region. But please be careful. These aren't normal summer storms. These could be quite dangerous in these regions. These will sweep through us around 7 p.m. They'll really get going in southwest Nebraska, northwest Kansas, and they'll sweep through this entire region throughout the late evening, early overnight hours, and then they'll begin to affect areas of maybe northwest Missouri, southwest areas of Iowa as we are getting after midnight tonight. But these storms can be quite powerful. They're still going into eastern areas of Kansas. Watch out, Kansas City, into the wee hours of the morning. You guys could get some nasty storms. But the entire evening, late afternoon, evening time frame is going to be impacted big time with this area. And, you look at wind gust with this. We'll back it up here. And some of these wind gusts with some of these storms, are going to be quite intense. Look at this area right here in kind of northwest Kansas, just north of Goodland and around just north of the Goodland area, Kansas region. That's a wind gust approaching 80, 90, almost 100 miles per hour. Now, the HRRR model loves to overdo this, but just know, here, we'll stop it here at 9 p.m. right here in kind of the central areas of southern Nebraska and northern Kansas. Nasty line of storms working its way through. These are basically riding that Kansas-Nebraska state line. And just know that these are going to produce, at times, some hurricane-force winds, over 75 miles per hour. And these will make their way all the way into the Kansas City area, into the wee hours of the morning. So please be aware of these storms in this region. We will look at Kansas here. Nebraska. And same deal. They could be quite intense all the way up into eastern Nebraska. This is around 8 p.m., right around when the sun's going down, right around when you think you're about to shoot some fireworks, and you're thinking, okay, we're in the clear. If you're in Omaha, Lincoln, Nebraska, please be aware of these storms out here to your west that will be working their way through to your area. Will they lose their kind of steam, lose some punch by the time they reach your area? It's possible, but large hail, damaging winds are very possible with this, and they will be affecting areas of eastern Nebraska late evening to that midnight time frame, and they could produce some big time winds in this region. So please be aware of this. And we'll even look at Missouri. I think that these storms will move in after you're done with any 4th of July activities. But if you are a night owl and you're staying up and you are in kind of northwest Missouri, some storms could move through later into the overnight hours, and I think that they could be ongoing tomorrow morning. But I think that there's a potential that they won't have as much steam to them. But, if you're around the Springfield, Missouri area, getting close to the Fayetteville, Arkansas region, you guys could wake up tomorrow morning to a nasty line of storms. It's quite possible, but I certainly think these will just be just south of severe limits. But we'll see. So be careful in this region. We'll move a little bit further north and northeast because this area is under a slight risk. Same deal, You get into this afternoon, watch out around the Duluth area, around, I would say, 2 to 4 p.m. You guys could get some storms that move through your area, and just an area of consolidated rain could sweep through northern Minnesota, northeast Minnesota. Be prepared with this. And then kind of on the southern extent of this little piece of energy, 4, 5, 6 p.m., if you're in far northern and northwest Wisconsin, Duluth, I just mentioned here, Ashland, so the town of Superior, just south of Duluth, and just a lot of small towns and communities. If you're in northern areas of Wisconsin, these storms could produce hail and some damaging winds, even a brief tornado threat. Please be careful if you're in this region of Wisconsin a little bit later today. And then these will make their way all the way into the western UP of Michigan. If you got any fireworks you plan on shooting or any fireworks shows, and you're in the western UP or even the central areas of the UP of Michigan, northern Wisconsin, this model particularly shows some showers and storms moving into your area. Even some storms really close to the Green Bay area are quite possible. And you can't ignore these, a couple pop-up downpours in areas in and around the St. Louis area, right around the time where you're shooting fireworks either. But you keep just going, you get into the late evening hours, some storms making their way through the UP of Michigan. And so you definitely could get some boomers from the atmosphere up here in the UP of Michigan later tonight. I know I got a couple of viewers from this region. Steven, you're a very loyal viewer. I appreciate you very much. Be careful later tonight. You could get some storms that make their way into this region later this evening. They could come earlier. They could come later. But we'll see what happens up in this region. So We move into the Northern Plains region, and we'll watch some rain that will make its way through southern and southwest areas of Montana, northern areas of Wyoming. We won't expect this to really be much in the way of severe, but more just some rain. Some more stable air has already moved through at this point behind the cold front. So this area of rain right here in southeast Montana, if I said southwest, I apologize. Northeast Wyoming, this will be more so rain, and you even have some snow falling in some of these higher elevations of extreme southern Montana and northern Wyoming. And this will continue, and this will kind of merge with the energy down here. And we already talked about them dangerous storms that are possible in Nebraska, Kansas, and Colorado. And just some general flow from this cold front that will work its way through behind the cold front up here in northern Montana that's possible. So it is interesting to watch the temperature drop today. These are temperatures right about right now. Watch how temperatures surge ahead of this cold front. It'll probably try to hit 100 degrees in areas of Kansas and northern Kansas today. But you go a few hours north into northern areas of Nebraska, it's only in the 70s. This is that cold front. This is a sharp cold front for July standards. So, 60s, 70s up here for highs. It'll be a cooler 4th of July for folks in Montana, North Dakota, Wyoming. It'll be pleasant. It'll, feel like kind of an early fall day up here. It will not be hot at all. But, if you're south of this frontal boundary before the wind shift, scorcher for these regions. And, you look at temperatures compared to average for around 6, 7 p.m. Look at this. 20, 25 degrees below average in areas of Wyoming, Montana. So much cooler than average temperatures in these regions, even the western Dakotas. So it is definitely going to be cooler than average by a long shot in these regions for your 4th of July. So the Rockies, western U.S., besides just some showers and some downpours to work their way behind this frontal boundary, as possible, even in extreme northwest areas of Montana and northern Idaho. This is around, that time where the sun is beginning to set. Some showers are possible here in eastern Idaho. But in general, I'm not seeing anything too crazy weather-wise out here out west. It's still calm, very hot in the desert southwest. So, temperatures ahead of any kind of storm development in the eastern Carolinas, very hot today, well into the mid to upper 90s in the eastern Carolinas, all the way into eastern Virginia, even into the Delmarva area, some mid 90s. Very hot in Florida, Georgia, well into the 90s. A little pocket of cooler air influenced by this upper troughing into the mid south, but still very warm. 80s. A more pleasant day here in Tennessee and Kentucky and the Ohio Valley, but very hot all the way up to this boundary right up here. 90s into the south central U.S., the Mississippi Valley, warm all the way up into the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region where you'll hit the 80s. Temperatures out west, much cooler temperatures surge. Highs will only be into the 60s and the 50s, even in some of these lower elevation regions. It'll be a downright chilly 4th of July for areas like Wyoming, areas of Montana. You'll certainly feel a massive difference today and probably into tomorrow also. Not quite as hot in the desert southwest and the southwest and western U.S., but still very warm. But, you get a little bit of break for the 4th of July, but still warm, just nothing compared to the last couple of days out here. That's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a great 4th of July, and I'll talk to you again soon.